Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in to this second episode of Culture of Winning. I am, of course, Spike Cohen, and I'm really looking forward to talking with our guest tonight. But first, let me just really quickly, for those who haven't heard about Culture of Winning and who haven't, seen the previous episode that I did with Kalish Morrow, here's the idea behind Culture of Winning. Very often within the Libertarian Party, we have had a culture, if you will, of what I call losing well or failing admirably, where we go in with the idea that we're already going to lose, that we're not going to do very well, but we're going to, we're going to teach people and we're going to learn lots of lessons along the way. And that's perfectly fine to do that. But I think that it's also important to try to win. I think that there are many of these elections, especially at the local and statewide level, that we can win now. We don't have to, we want to grow the party. We want to grow the grassroots. We want to build a grassroots movement so that we can, in future elections, win at the White House and, win at the federal level. But there are elections we can win right now, even before that. And in doing so, we can help grow that grassroots and show people that that L doesn't stand for losing, that L stands for liberty. And so to that end, I would like to introduce my guest tonight, who was just reelected to the Rancho Simi Board of Directors in California, and her name is Kate O'Brien. Kate, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Yes, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure. It is a pleasure.
Well, I really appreciate it, and congratulations on your reelection to the Board of Directors.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Kate, let's get started. I just, before we get into your actual race, I always ask this of my guests. And I say always, you're my second guest. So I have twice asked this of you are the second person. But moving forward, I will always ask this of my guests. What is it that you would say brought you to libertarianism and to the Libertarian Party? Was it kind of an aha moment, or was it something that kind of gradually over time? Tell us the story behind what brought you to libertarianism.
I found a home is what I felt for the first 20 years of my life. I felt like I was on Mars, because I always thought, if you're not hurting someone, if someone isn't hurting you, you should just leave them alone.
Right.
And when I got into college, I discovered a few people who'd read Ayn Rand, and I started reading her, and I wasn't really an objectivist because that was almost like the religion I was morphing out of. It was very similar in a lot of ways. But I met these people, and we started meeting for coffee and things, and then one of them was a libertarian who says, "Oh, yeah, you sound more like a libertarian than an objectivist. Here's some literature." We weren't even a legal party in California at that time. This is back in the early 70s. And I read it and I thought, oh my God, there's a name for someone who believes and it's not crazy.
I'm not weird. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an actual group of people who think like this. Where do I sign up? So I did. It wasn't even a legal party in California at the time, but I went and changed my voter registration anyway to Libertarian. Because you can put anything you want. You can put declines to state, you can put more, you can put whatever you want, So I just put Libertarian, and then started going to meetings, and I've been libertarian ever since. And it was a long time ago.
you're one of, I was going to say, you're one of the OG libertarians in not just in California, but across the country.
I am. I'm probably one of the earliest libertarians. I estimate that I sort of changed my registration. I think it was around 1974 or so. So my voter registration.
Wow. So, well, thank you for being in this for the long haul. I certainly won't call you a Johnny come lately to the movement. And
no, I'm not.
So board of directors, and it is I'm trying my best. It is the Rancho Simi, California Parks and Recreation Division, correct?
Everybody gets it wrong the first few times. Do not feel bad. It's the Rancho Simi Recreation and Park District is the proper name.
I'm so off that I don't even know how that's different from what I said. But okay,
everybody gets it wrong.
The Rancho Simi Recreations and Park District Board of Directors.
Yes, that's it.
I did it. Yeah. Second time, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was it that brought you to decide that you needed to, that they needed the libertarian idea there in Rancho Simi Recreations and Park District? What was it that made you decide to run for that?
Well, ran the first time I ran, I was part of Operation Breakthrough, which I don't know if you're familiar with. No. About 20 years ago, Aaron Starr, who has been a long-time libertarian activist also, was reading an article somewhere, and I think he was actually California State Chair at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Anyway, he was reading an article somewhere that said that in California there's like over 2,000 special districts. Now, special districts are districts like if a group of people don't want to be a real town, they don't want to be an actual town, but they need services, they create committees to get like water, fire protection, parks and recreation. School districts is another common one. We call them special districts in California. We have mosquito abatement hospital, water, sanitary, recreation and parks, a couple others that, cemetery. And he was reading this article saying that there are all these like 2,000, over 2,000, like 2,200 and something special districts at the time. And a lot of the seats people run unopposed, or the openings aren't filled because people don't know they're there and people don't want to vote. It's like low-hanging fruit. So he organized a thing that he dubbed Operation Breakthrough, and we raised money up the yin-yang, and we called people and got them to run. And I ran as part of that. I said, okay, here's one I'm going to run for. So I put my paperwork in. And it didn't cost anything. There was an option of doing a candidate statement, which would have cost me like $1,500 or something. But I didn't have that in my pocket, so I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I found out that all three incumbents were running. And there was one challenger whose father was a longtime Democrat political consultant, and he was getting his son started in politics, and he was spending beaucoup bucks. And we go all over town. There were signs all over town, huge humongous big ass signs, and you go to the movies, there'd be ads, movie ads before the trailers started. So this guy, and we just said, well, the incumbents are going to win, and then he's going to win, and how many people do I have voting? I have me, I have Aaron, Dan, Sandy, okay, 4 or 5, our neighbors 6. Okay, well, I'll probably get 6. That's kind of embarrassing. I'll probably get 6 votes. So we were so sure that I was going to lose that we went that night to help a guy, one of the other Operation Breakthrough people was running for city council in San Bernardino, Upland, I think it was. So we said, we'll just go help him, And so we're there getting out the vote, and we're partying after the polls will closed. And Aaron gets this call around midnight, maybe 11 midnight, from our friends back in Simi. Said, well, Kate's hanging in there. She's in 3rd place for 3 seats. And he didn't believe them at first. He said, guys, our candidate here in Upland lost. I'm not in the mood for jokes right now. And they said, we're not joking. She's winning. And we said, what? Or something maybe a little more colorful than that. But it was like, how did this happen? So two of the incumbents were solidly reelected. And we had beaten, I and this other fellow with the father spending all the money. We're battling it out. We're like this for 3rd place. We'd beaten that appointed incumbent, and we were like this for a week or two, and then and then he started pulling ahead, and we figured, okay, well, it was fun while it lasted, but he's obviously everything I know about politics tells me he should win.
Right.
So yeah. So, but a week or so later, I got a call from the district manager of the park district saying, well, you've won. And it's like, how did this happen? How did I win? I didn't do anything. And it was like I had won by 3 votes. There was a recount too, which was another weird. We had to watch ballots. Now they're doing recounts, I think, in Ohio or somewhere by hand. Same thing. They hired a bunch of temp workers. The county hired temp workers, and sat around a large table and made 1 vote for Funk, 1 for O'Brien, 1 for Johnson, 1 for Dantona over here. We went through all of them, and we just kept doing it. It went on for like a week, 8 days. We were about 80% through, and I started pulling ahead. And we counted almost all of the ballots, and I was pulling ahead. So they said, you know what, we're going to concede. So they called it. They conceded. So the 3-vote tally stands. And I think somebody told me recently that, no, that's still a record in Ventura County. It hasn't been beat. I thought that record had been broken a few years ago.
Okay, wait. Okay, so So none of I'm going to ask you what was the most challenging thing. It sounds like waiting for the recount. Okay, so you're running against three incumbents, one of whom was appointed, but three incumbents, and a well-funded son of a Democrat consultant. And it sounds like you campaigned. This wasn't a hard-fought campaign. What do you attribute to the fact that you and this was what, back in 2000?
2000, yes. It was the same year as Bush and Gore were doing the recount. It was right at the same time.
And to what do you attribute, or do you have something that you attribute this victory to?
To this day, I do not know. I was the only woman on the ballot. Maybe that was it. It could have been ballot position. A ballot position on the ballot has a lot to do with it when on these little local races, when you're down ballot. And we're way down ballot. I mean, we're not even Congress, City Council. We're like way down ballot.
Right.
At the end. So apparently ballot position has a lot to do with it. And apparently that's probably a factor. I was the only woman running. That may have been a factor.
I wonder if... Okay, I wonder. I love it. How did you win? I don't know. So this is a nonpartisan race, right? So if someone votes, do you have straight party ticket in California? Straight ticket voting?
What is that? I'm not sure I know what that is.
You probably don't have it then. So like in South Carolina and a lot of other states, you can just, instead of going through the whole ballot, you can just say Democrat or Republican. And that hurts libertarians, but in nonpartisan races, it doesn't apply because that's not, even if you are a Democrat or a Republican or libertarian or whatever, you're not running as one. So it probably, I think California probably doesn't have that.
We have open primaries where they have the primary in March and the top two vote getters run off in November. That usually means two Democrats running against each other in California.
Okay, all right, okay. So yeah, it's a totally different thing.
Republicans, like the assembly race in my district was two Republicans running against each other. So.
Okay, so you won. Yeah. So you don't know why you won, basically.
It was a game changer, though. Really.
It's a game changer. So you don't know why you won, but the two solid theories are you were the only woman on the ballot, which honestly I think that might have been the big one, and then also placement on the where you were.
Yeah, and what they do is they draw. It's totally random, so you end up where you end up after they draw your name, and I think that might have had something to do with it. I don't remember where I was on the ballot. But my friend Sandy said, "Oh no, you were at the top." I said, "Okay, I thought I was at the bottom, but I don't remember. It was 20 years ago. I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning." So
I love this. I hope that I love. So folks, there's a takeaway from each of these episodes, and I guess the takeaway from this one may just be, hey, if you run, you might win. You might just win. You might win and not even know why. You may win. And if you try to win, you're even more likely to win, but maybe not. Okay, so...
Yeah, it was a fluke. It was certainly a fluke, no question. And I felt like a deer caught in the headlights for my first 4 years, but then I started to relax into it a little bit, which got to be kind of fun. It was good. 4 years later, I'm up again, so I run. And this time, I ran a serious campaign. I raised money.
Okay.
And I provided a candidate statement for now. I provided a candidate statement. We had two challengers, one of whom was specifically recruited by one of my fellow board members to take my seat.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, he made no secret of not liking me. So he recruited this woman, and she ran, and she very specifically ran targeting my seat. But I was the only one of the three incumbents and two challengers. I was the only one that filed a candidate statement. I raised money, which it was not cheap because it looked like I was going to have to pay for the whole page, which would have been it was just several $1,000s. Turned out I didn't have to, but it was. Okay. I raised all this money and then did the statement. I came in first. I came in. I checked. I just checked the totals recently, and that election, I got 59% of the vote in a three-way race. Highest vote total in the history of the Park District. In
a three-way race where the top three vote getters are the winners, you got 60% of the vote.
Yeah, we don't do enough. So
Okay.
I attribute that to filing the candidate statement because that's the only thing I did that was different than everybody else. Is filing the candidate statement.
Is it
So
possible, Kate, that we should run you for president because you just you like just win stuff? Like you're just a
yeah,
naturally a
I would
winner? Is
I would be
O'Brien
the president.
2024
I
happening
would be
right
a,
now?
huh?
I said, are
I'm
we? Is this the beginning of O'Brien 2024 that we know that you'll win? Like you'll just show up and they'll go, folks, out of nowhere, Kate O'Brien, who we have not covered yet, is winning
yeah.
280 electoral points.
Well, uh,
Okay, so you've
I know
had
we're getting around here, right?
so in future elections, so there were other ones that were more hard fought in those elections because you've been now in this position for 20 years, so that's what, 5 election, is it every 2 years or
5
every?
terms. Yeah, I'm starting my 6th term now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Um,
what have been the most challenging things you've faced in those harder runs?
Honestly, the recount the first time that was the hardest. That was the most. Because I mean, we happen to be a relatively well-run district,
Right.
and in 2004, I raising. I guess if I have to choose, it's probably a tie between the recount and calling people up and asking for money, which I would, I'd rather like get root canal, and as would pretty much everybody I know.
Right.
Nobody likes to call their friends and beg for money, and I think, well, I'm running for office and I need to do a candidate statement, and so I did. Um, I think probably it's a tie between those having to raise that money and surviving the recount. Those are probably the most stressful things.
So
2008, there were no challengers at all. Got a
okay,
free
so
ride.
2008 you just sailed to victory because it was only the three of you
Yeah.
running.
All the incumbents filed and nobody filed against any of us. So it was like, yay.
So the person who tried to get rid of you by bringing, are they still in the board of directors?
No, they are not. In fact, he was not happy for about 6 months, and then he got over it, and he and I actually started getting along pretty well
Oh, okay.
because I'm a nice person.
Because I mean, who
Nobody hates me.
who
I'm
can
really
hate
nice.
Kate? Yeah,
It's like,
who can hate Kate?
yeah,
By the way, I
no,
think we go ahead.
No, I was going to say he eventually had to resign because of health issues, and he has since passed away.
Oh,
So, but he
okay.
was like in his 80s when he passed away.
Okay.
But,
Okay, but you ended up
yeah,
having a good working relationship.
Yeah, we actually did eventually forge a pretty good working relationship.
That's good. That's
And he
good.
appreciated my sense of humor, which, is sometimes a challenge. So that was good.
Well, that's good. That's good. And I think we may have stumbled upon how you won because we're getting a lot of comments from the viewers that are saying that they are admitting that their guilt in picking the woman if they don't know who's running for a specific thing. They'll pick a woman or another person who said, I just pick whoever's at the top if I don't know, or whoever's name sounds the most interesting. So it's possible that you and someone else said that your campaign slogan now can be hashtag can't hate Kate. That can
I love it. Yes.
Can't hate Kate.
Can't hate Kate. I'm writing that down.
Also, a friend of yours is in the comment. Max Fairfax says, "Hi, Kate. It's been a long time since those Libertarian Party supper club roundtable pizza in Camarillo.
Oh yeah. Hi, Max. Max.
Yeah, Max Fairfax.
Hi, Max.
And
Matt.
and Aaron Ladd is saying, be sure to buy membership cards, everyone, because we don't collect lobby money, which is true. We don't get lobbyist money because we don't want it, and they would never give it to us because we don't give out favors. We try to give everyone their money back, and there's not a lot of lobby money in that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be in for that. If we had some ham, we could have some ham and eggs if we had some eggs.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So and I think we may have already answered this, but what are your, so if someone came up to you and said, hey, Kate, I'm thinking of running for whatever, city council, county, district, whatever, what would be, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you've learned that you would want to, the single biggest thing you'd want to be sure to impart on them?
I would say start getting involved in things immediately, several years, like 2 or 3 years before you want to run. Be a joiner. Now, that's a big problem with a lot of libertarians because a lot of us are kind of nerdy and we like to sit behind a computer and, do online stuff. And we're a little bit kind of weird in person. Yeah, me too a little bit. I'm an engineer, so I'm a weird engineer though. So.
I'm actually nice to. I'm like good in person, but I'm also kind of like a nerd that wants to do stuff on the internet. So yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I have that. I have my inner nerd kind of comes out a lot sometimes, but I enjoy interacting with people. This pandemic has been hard because I like
Yes.
I go to Rotary or I go to Bunko and I go to to church or blah blah blah
Yeah.
and I can't do that now. It's all Zoom and Zoom's better than nothing, but it's
It's
not
not the
contact
same.
with
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's not the same, and it's hard. Is I'm finding it really because there's everybody else in the world I know. So,
So when
but
you
no, I
say
was
be a joiner, when you say be a joiner, what kind of
yeah.
stuff do you mean?
I mean, go to Rotary meetings. Start going to Rotary meetings. You have to get sponsored to get into Rotary and Kiwanis. I don't know Kiwanis. I think you do too. Start going to those. Start going to if you're a female, go to Surreptitimus. Get involved in your chamber. Just start doing stuff. 80% of life is showing up. They say, and it's true. Just show up. Step up to the plate when they need a volunteer to do something. Do it. If the softball team needs you to buy an ad, buy an ad. That just keep doing that for a few years. And start. The other thing I would say, you might try for an open seat. Wait till there's an opening. There's running against incumbents is really hard. Very tough to beat an incumbent. I mean, I know that I did once, but that was a fluke. You can't count on that. It's like counting on winning the lottery for your retirement. Yeah,
I know. It's like I'm asking. I was gonna say it's like asking a lottery winner, like, what investment advice would you get? I don't know. Buy a lottery ticket. So,
yeah,
it works for me.
I would say best thing to do is wait until there's an opening.
Okay.
In either city council, special district, school district, blah blah blah. Or wait until a place with district elections. If you live in a place that has district elections, that can sometimes help a challenger. That's how I'd start. I mean, that was the first thing I would do.
Cool. So show up.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking with someone who wants to run for a local office, and I said, if you're running in 2022, start now. And it's hard right now, like you said, there's not a lot of stuff, but in this person's state, it's not really locked down, so it's a little bit easier. Go to, find your local organizations, like you said, like, Kiwanis and Rotary Club and things like that, and get involved with Chamber of Commerce, get involved with like soup kitchens and local churches and charities that you can volunteer at, show up and show that you actually care about the community, because the vast majority of people, if they're putting any thought at all, especially in these like down ballot races, if they're putting any thought into who they're voting for, which they didn't when they voted for Kate the first time, but if they do put any thought into it, they're not necessarily thinking like, again, libertarians tend to think policy and ideology and stuff. Most people aren't built that way. They look at you and they think, have I ever heard of this person? Are they at least a bit involved? Do I have any reason to think they care about me or anything I care about? And if they know that if this name they can associate with someone who's been involved with Toys for Tots and Habitat for Humanity and all of these local things that have showed up to showed up to either protests or rallies, showed up to church events, showed up to things that are happening in your community and interacting with people where they are, meeting them where they are. That's a huge part of all of this. And yeah, if you can run for a seat where you're not going against an incumbent, it's going to make it a lot easier because you can get these well-funded incumbents, and unless your name is Kate O'Brien, you're not likely to win against them. So now
I
that
lost before for the magic fairy dust.
you did what?
I just got a bug in my office. Anyway, magic. Yeah, there's no real magic fairy dust. I mean, yeah. But that's how I would tell someone start now doing that.
Okay.
So.
That's all good advice. I just love that. And again, here's one other takeaway. Folks, you might just win. Like you could just win. I wouldn't run with the idea that I might just pull a Kate O'Brien and win against every single odd. But that also might happen. I mean, there's fluky stuff that happens in these smaller races. It's a much smaller sample size of voters. Actually, try to run to win, but you might win. Like you might just win. People might just vote for you.
It would be when you start getting involved in your community. I was going to add this earlier. I mean, don't spread yourself so thin that you burn out.
Yeah, of
But
course.
find a couple of things, and it's helpful if you find something that can excite you, just aside from the politics. You find something that needs to be done. I don't know, helping the soup kitchen. There's a fellow that ran for mayor. He's not libertarian. He's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win, but he runs the community garden, and it's like it makes his heart sing to have food for people. And he's so excited. He shows up at things, and he looks like a homeless guy because he has long hair and he dresses. But he starts talking about the community garden. He's like so excited, and he's so knowledgeable, and he's brilliant, and he's bright, and people love him.
And because he's shining in his element, it comes forward as an organic thing. Yeah.
His zone. And this is, yeah.
Okay, cool. So now, anyway. So you've been in office for 20 years and going strong, and at this point, you're, like the impossible incumbent to defeat in your office. You are Kate O'Brien, controller of your realm. Now that in your time in office and moving forward, what have your main goals been in that office? What have you wanted to bring to that?
Well, my goal has always been to reduce the intrusion of government into private lives. That's always been my goal. And I realize I have to back up. I will explain my whole situation here. But when I first got in office, I realized, someone on the Park District isn't going to create a libertarian society in 4 years. That's not going to happen. Don't even go. Yeah. But and it's like one starfish at a time. Anything you can do to reduce the size of government or make people think outside the box a little bit about stuff, which I do. And when I first got elected, when I was first on the fluke time, 3 votes, everybody, even though it's a nonpartisan race, everyone knew I was libertarian. And so, when you're libertarian, as they say, when you're libertarian, it's always partisan, and that's kind of true, but. Not so much now, but 20 years ago it was.
Yeah, but that's, because we're not a usual thing, everyone focuses on the fact that we're libertarians, yeah.
Yeah, exactly true. I was an unknown entity, and that's all they knew about me. It's like, oh boy. I didn't really hurt the Park District. We run better now than we did before. What was I... Oh, a big shock, the biggest shock to me, people never expected to hear this when I occasionally give talks at libertarian functions, and it totally floors people. The biggest shock when I first started running, it just totally blew my mind, was government is too big. Yes, it's like try. We know it's big. You have no freaking idea.
Right, until you're in it, you have no clue just how over involved it is. Until you're
there on the front line, you go, holy. I can't say what I really think, but it's.
You can actually. We have no rules in the show. Yeah, this is a libertarian show. You can say whatever.
It's like trying to contemplate the vastness of the universe. They talk about light years and billions of light years, and you can't even get your mind. Government's that you can't even get your mind on how enormous it is, and it's not only enormous. It's like the marbled fat in a T-bone steak. It's like little fingers of government everywhere you step. Yeah. Sometimes the federal and state have mutually exclusive requirements for things, and you don't know nobody knows which one to follow. I mean, it's beyond human.
Is it almost like a Kafka-esque type thing where it's like unnecessary bureaucracy and red tape almost for the sake of it type of thing?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's like there's that science fiction story. What's it called? Bodkin's Job. You should read it. It's very libertarian.
What's it called?
But it's about bureaucracy for the sake. Bodkin's Job. It's about a guy who there's some stupid regulation and he's trying to fight the stupid regulation. He goes all the way up to and it's a dystopian society. He goes all the way up to the top and gets set back down, and eventually, the person who covers this is this person, gets down to the janitor in the basement.
Okay.
And the janitor in the basement, this guy running everything, he goes, well, yeah, I noticed that this was a problem. I just send suggestions up once in a while when I think something will work better.
Right.
And he says, I really want to retire, and if I could find someone to take this position, I would. He goes, I'm here.
And it's that everything he does goes up the ladder. And what's it called? The fellow, the protagonist, goes up the ladder to try to get its regulation changed, and he comes back down again and finds out it's the janitor running the whole show. Right, so and it's called what again? Bodkin's Job?
Bodkins, I think that's the name. Let me Google
Yeah,
and
yeah,
make
yeah.
sure I
Because I'm
got it
trying to
right.
find it, and I'm always interested in this kind of stuff. So okay, cool.
It's called. Yeah,
So
I'm
you,
gonna Google it.
yeah, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
To
All right.
recap,
Yeah.
your win was just out of nowhere. It was a total fluke. You have now been in office. You are a total powerhouse. You are now in office for 20 plus years.
Okay. Yeah.
No one's ever going to unseat you at this point. And you've basically been there to show that libertarians are not the boogeyman and that they want a as streamlined and efficient a government as possible, and that and government out of people's lives as much as possible. And in
Yeah.
being into part of that, you have seen just how absurdly not just big and costly and obtrusive government is, but also how just like ridiculous it is, even in the margins, how involved it is in every single thing.
Yes, yes, yes. There's a lot. Now we're lucky. I mean, school districts have more restrictions. For example, we don't have as many restrictions as school districts. They have it worse. I mean, they get X amount of dollars from the state, and the state says you'll spend this amount on this and that. So they have a lot. They have a lot more difficulty with that than we do. So we're actually kind of lucky in that. So,
Well,
but even
Kate,
so, we have. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, yeah, but it's fun.
well, Kate,
Um,
what is so I'm fascinated by this story. I intentionally when I asked everyone that got elected and reelected this year to come on, I intentionally didn't find out much about any of you other than the basics about your run and everything, because I want to be as surprised as the audience is. And this was definitely a surprise to discover that you're like, I just ran and then I won it, and I shouldn't have, but I did. So that's
yeah.
fantastic. I think we've pretty much covered everything, but I always like to give my guests the kind of the last word on everything. And with the idea of that this is a show that is about trying to imbue a culture of winning within the party, that we are a party that can win and will win. What would you say? What is your winning message to people, especially people that are thinking of running? What more so than anything you've said before? What is like the last thing you would want to say to people that you feel like hasn't been said when it comes to what you would like to see in a candidate trying to win?
Uh, that's a good question. I'd have to probably ponder off. I'm just thinking on my feet here. One thing, when you're libertarian and you're a public official,
Mm.
you get accused of wasting your time and throwing away your vote,
Yeah.
and you're not. That's not true. And there's a couple of reasons for that that you might not think of. We do affect policy more than you might think. I mean, just one big one in Georgia, that libertarian threw the race into a runoff.
Shane Hazel. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, that kind of. I mean, that's affecting policy in a way, because which way are the libertarians going to vote? Well, which of the two candidates are going to be more libertarian?
And in
You know?
fact, not just that, and I'm sorry I told you that I would give you the last word, but I just want to add that Shane Hazel has a podcast called Radical. That's what got him his start in Georgia. He has now invited both of those Senate candidates to come on his show with the idea that he is considering endorsing one of them if they have the right answers to his questions. One of them has
Yes.
already agreed to come on the show, and the other one is considering it. He could very well decide who ends up winning that election, but it will require them. It will require them having good answers to libertarian questions. So anyway.
Okay, yes, that we do it that way. I mean, getting some clown in the White House for 4 years, fine, whatever. But if you can do things like that, like throw races into runoffs, and invite them on your radio show, if we keep doing that, we are going to start affecting policy a lot more than you might think.
Very
Really,
good.
we will.
Very good.
I
Well,
remember reading a decade or so ago that Bill Clinton had asked the Cato Institute for some advice on something. I mean, I could not have imagined that in the 70s when I first became a libertarian. People, I'd be on street corners with petitions. I get people throwing things at me. It was, really rude. And then they turn around and Clinton's asking the Cato for advice.
right. Well, and you had Trump.
Libertarians throwing races into runoffs.
You have Trump claiming that he was somewhat libertarian. I mean, we've certainly come a long way. And I mean, talking to folks like you that have been in this since the 70s, where you're not the first one to say that people threw stuff at you, that like, you were almost treated like you were, trying to convert people to Satanism or something like that. We've certainly come a long way. I think that we're at the point now where we can really start trying to be, the party that contends and becomes dominant moving forward. But Kate, I'm just so appreciative of your time. This was an absolute blast because I think it's so cool that things worked out the way they did in your race. But Kate, thanks so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
This has been fun. I enjoy doing these things because once you get started talking about this stuff, it's like it's great. It's fun.
Yeah. It's a blast. And Kate, thanks again for coming on. And folks, thank you for tuning in for this second episode of Culture of Winning. Stay tuned. What's that?
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Oh, really. Absolutely. And folks, thank you guys for tuning in. And so tomorrow night, I will be on my show, The Muddy Waters of Freedom, where we parse through the week's events. Matt Wright and I do that. And then on Wednesday, I have a very special guest. More on that soon on my show, My Fellow Americans. And then tune in again right here on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for the third episode of Culture of Winning. I will be interviewing... Gosh, who am I interviewing? I should probably know that when I'm doing this. I will be interviewing on next Thursday Bob Carwin. Bob Carwin will be my guest next on this coming Thursday at 8 p.m. And join us every Monday and Thursday at 8, except for Thanksgiving, of course. Every Monday and Thursday at 8, where I will be interviewing libertarians who have won election and re-election to impart their wisdom on how we can become a party that wins, how we can start this era of winning for the Libertarian Party and creating a culture of winning. So I am Spike Cohen. You are the power. And thank you so much again for coming on the show. Or thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on, but also thank you for watching Culture of Winning.